This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardinis, to use this as an educational material. Good day everyone, this is Group 4, and our topic for today is political self.
The political self. It is the conceptually discrete categories of inner and outer in reality constantly interact, shape, and inform each other. It suggests the psychological and the economical, the political, and the personal in reality constantly interact and interweave. Foreign cultures, beliefs, languages, and religions have made a huge dent on our own by setting a foundation of contemporary Filipino identity and culture. Filipino identity. The Philippines today has only emerged in the 1980s after over 3 centuries colonization of the Spaniards. Meanwhile, the Japanese only occurred in 1946. Foreign culture, beliefs, languages, and religions have made a huge dent on our own by setting the foundation of the contemporary Filipino identity and culture. Filipino have truly evolved an identity of their own? Or are we still living in the shadow of our colonial friends? We all know that our country has was colonized not only one country. In our history, we were first colonized by Spaniards within 300 years. During the 300 years of being under control, they influenced our ancestors, not only society but also their identity. Our culture and beliefs changed, and some of our ancestors studied to copy the attitude and behavior. The religion that they introduced to us gives the biggest impact to our ancestors today about the perspective of ourselves. Spaniards also influence our language that we also use it until today. Like for example, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, and some words that we use today. For 300 years, their influence did not disappear even on our time today. We Filipinos adopted some of their influence, especially on how we view ourselves today. That is why some of the Filipinos during the Spanish era until today are afraid to accept the truth about something because they can't accept the reality of this world. After the Spanish era, Americans also colonized our land for 48 years. The Americans contributes the biggest influence of that we are today, in our language, culture, belief, and especially to ourselves. They influence us from being sensitive to all things to do what you want to think what is right for you. Our ancestors felt the freedom of their true identity during this time. They felt that there are no more chains in their neck anymore. Our ancestors become confident to show their feelings and their opinions. Nowadays, some of the Filipinos copied some of American attitudes, like being honest to someone even if it hurts to someone. Americans are known for being honest to everyone about their feelings. They don't want to hide it because it will become a burden to themselves. And some Filipinos are like that. The American influence is present until now. Many Filipinos want their voice to be heard, being honest even if it hurts to others, approaching others to correct their mistakes without getting angry. In my in my opinion, Americans' era gives the biggest influence to us Filipinos during their era until now to ourselves. Many countries tried and colonized the Philippines. That is why we Filipino have different languages, cultures, belief, religion, perspective on ourselves, attitudes, and behavior from the influence of different countries. The influence makes us what today. It builds our characteristics of the identity of us as a Filipino. The individual race, intensity, and physical characteristics are not the only factor that makes a person national identity. The importance of values and traits are set apart in nationality from others. These values and traits may not always be positive thing, but being able to identity oneself apart from other nationalities and point out weaknesses and mistakes, paired with unity and process a possibility. Filipino has his or her own identity, every much different from other nationalities. His or her values, traits, community life are the ones that will stand out from the rest of the people. So you have to take note that values vary among individuals and across cultures and time.
Filipino values. Filipino values are social construct within Filipino culture which define which is socially considered to be desirable. The Filipino value system describes the commonly shared and traditionally established system of values underlying Filipino behavior within the context of the larger Filipino cultural system. So this relates to a unique assemblage of consistent ideologies, moral codes, ethical practices, etiquette, and personal and cultural values that are promoted by Filipino society. So the formal study of Filipinos' values has been made difficult by the historic context of the literature in the field. The early scholarship about the Filipino value system lacked clear definition and organization frameworks and were mostly written by foreigners during the Philippines-American colonial period. So the later half of the 20th century saw efforts to develop clearly definition and properly contextualized frameworks, but many aspects of the scholarship required further clarification and consensus. So the distinct value system of Filipinos has generally been described as rooted primarily in personal alliance system, especially those based in kinship, obligation, friendship, religion, particularly Christianity, and commercial relationship. So that's all.
What is Filipino traits? Filipinos are naturally helpful and generous people. They give as much as they can and extend help to family members and even strangers when needed. This is seen through the abundance of charity drives and foundations in the country, especially when calamities arise. What is a Filipino trait that is known everywhere? There are many traits in the Philippines like the family, humor and positivity, flexibility and adaptability, faith and religion, and hospitality. So, the most known trait in the Philippines is hospitality. Filipino hospitality goes beyond the friendly treatment of guests or a warm welcome into their home. It is Filipinos welcoming you to their family. In other words, Filipino hospitality means becoming a part of the Filipino family. Filipinos are naturally hospitable. Guests can be expected to extend a warm welcome to their guests regardless of where they come from, how well they know their host, and why they're visiting someone's home. Hosts typically provides their guests with food and entertainment, and if there's time, a tour around the local destinations. In the Philippines, no one lives with an empty stomach. Before they leave, guests are even entreated to take home pasalubong or souvenirs, which often come in the form of delicacies and local sweets. The family. Filipinos are known to have strong family ties. This is why it's common to see different generations or multiple families living in a single residence. The family is at the center of the Filipino community. Children are not expected to leave their parents' house until they get married. Even after then, many couples opt to stay with or close to their spouse's parents. Also, they're expected to care for the aging parents instead of sending them to a retirement home. The value that most Filipinos put into caring for one's family can also be seen as one of the reasons why nurses and caregivers from the country provide their patients and clients with a high level of care. Humor and positivity. Optimism, humor, and positivity are valued traits in the Filipinos. Filipinos love celebration and festivities. The country has a long list of national holidays, and many provinces and cities have their own set of local holidays. Meanwhile, they still find quality time for their families to celebrate birthdays, Christmases, and other instances. At the same time, in the face of difficult or challenging situation, members of the community are encouraged to look at the brighter side of the things. The inclination for finding the good in the bad can be traced to the country's location, which lies in the path of typhoons and sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire, in a place where natural calamities are commonplace. Humor and positivity work as a coping mechanism, much like how some children laugh to hide their embarrassment after slipping or falling. Flexibility and adaptability. The term bahala na, which can be translated to whatever happens, is one of the more familiar phrases used in the country. It is perhaps the most representative of how Filipino value adaptability and quick thinking. The expression exemplifies one's belief in a higher power and submitting one's fate to elements that cannot be controlled. People who use the term bahala na do not see anything wrong with it, as it is served as a sort of positive affirmation that allows them to deal with a problem right then and there. However, those who call it a negative Filipino trait often view it as a form of fatalistic submission, or a way to absolve one from the responsibility of their actions. Faith and religion. Spiritually is a deeply embedded in a Filipino culture. A form of animism was already being practiced in many pre-colonial societies, and Islam and have been firmly established in the southern islands even before the pre-Hispanic era. These days, religion still plays a big part in society and everyday lives of Filipinos. The Catholic Church view still affects the passing of some laws. Most towns still hold feasts to honor their patron saints, and many regular non-working national holidays are dedicated to celebrating various religious activities and events. To many Filipinos, religion helps shapes their values and principles.
Institutional environment refers to a series of legal systems, governance, economic and social environment used to establish the basis of productions, exchange and distribution. It is the sum of the factors that influence the formal and informal institutions of the region on the economy. Institutional environment, as we defined it here, includes political institutions such as the national structure of policy making, regulations and adjudications, economic institutions such as the structure of the national factor markets and the terms of access to international factors of productions, and socio-cultural. Internal factors are those that you control, they come from within you. Internal factors are influenced by your feelings and thoughts. These can be positive or negative. Positive thoughts will help you with decisions making, while negative thoughts will most likely hinder you. Internal factors include political, economic, sociocultural, technological, environmental, and legal factors.
According the 1987 Philippines Constitution, Filipino citizens are those whose father or mother are citizens of the Philippines, those born before January 17, 1973 of Filipino mother who elect Philippine citizenship upon reaching the age of majority and those who are naturalized in accordance with law. The idea that political affiliations can comprise a cherished aspect of oneself is an old one. Campbell, Converse, Miller, and Stokes, 1960. However, recent research shows that polarized political behavior has significant connection with the centrality of political choices to the self-concept. Election attendance, voting behavior, and policy stances are all predicted by stronger social affiliation with labels like liberal and conservative.
Democracy is a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. However, the main idea of democracy is widely accepted to have originated from Athens in the 5th century BC. The Webster New Encyclopedic Dictionary 1995 defines democracy as a government in which supreme power is invested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through representation. Democracy is broadly understood to mean rule by the people. In practice, it is often defined as people choosing their leaders in free and fair elections. Other definitions go beyond this. For example, some of them see democracy as people having additional individual rights and being protected from the state. Democracy gives citizens the right to influence important decisions over their own lives and allows them to hold their leaders accountable. But it can have other benefits too. Democratic countries seem better governed than autocracies, seem to grow faster and foster more peaceful conduct within and between them.
The word democracy comes from the Greek words demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning power. So the democracy can be thought as a power of the people, a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. Democracy provides equal rights among citizens on the basis of caste, religion, and sex. Democracy enhances the quality of decision making and it also improves the dignity of citizens. Democracy provides a system to deal with differences and disagreements and also allows to correct our own mistakes. Democracy is a form of government in which people have the authority to deliberate and vote for the president. This allows citizens to decide how their country or community will be run. States with democratic governments guarantee fundamental individual rights and ensure a range of personal freedoms.
Citizenship. Citizenship is the most prestigious type of nationality. This broader term refers to various relationships between an individual and a state that do not necessarily confer political rights, but do imply other benefits, most notably international protection. It is the term used in international law to refer to all individuals who are entitled to protection by a state. It is also defined as the process of making decisions that affect one's own life as well as the life of the community in which one lives. Participation is a basic right of citizenship. Active citizenship is based on a person's cognitive and behavioral engagement in formal and informal political activities. Different people
exhibit varying degrees of active citizenship. Some are more aggressive in making their voices heard. The concept of active citizenship is a social construct. It promotes social connectedness and belonging. The primary goal of the active citizenship is to affect change and influence society as a whole. Active citizenship is also linked to a sense of community as people, including adolescents, participate in communal activities to feel like they belong to a specific group. Active citizenship can help ethnic pride and give a voice to their social group's problem.